Segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever. Segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever. Segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever. Segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever.
History holds its breath, for what is at stake is no less than the future security of the civilized world.
We see a story that comes out of basically from the Alabama Justice Project, which has obtained documents that reveal that the Dothan, Alabama Police Department, their internal affairs investigation ongoing for years of police malfeasance and racism was apparently covered up by the district attorney there. Tell us more about this.
Well, for those people who don't know, Dothan, Alabama is the epitome of, kind of small southern town, almost like what you would see in My Cousin Vinny. I mean, that's the kind of place that Dothan is, and I'm not saying that in a negative way at all. I've been there. It's lovely, but it is a very small Alabama town. And as early as 1996, the police department started getting complaints from African Americans who had been arrested, and they said, look, I'm being charged with having drugs on me, having weapons on me. I had none of this stuff. I don't know where this came from. I don't know why these charges are even here. So 19 years ago, they start hearing these complaints, and they decide 2 years after that, in 1998, when you finally had a group of white police officers come forward and say, look, I've witnessed some officers here planting guns, weapons, knives, and drugs on African-American suspects. But here is where the story gets even worse, even for Alabama. This Dothan story is truly ugly because we have a police department that is being run by neo-Confederate racists, putting black people in jail for crimes that they did not commit. We know they did not commit them, and yet those people are still, to this day, rotting away in a jail cell.
History holds its breath, for what is at stake is no less than the future security of the civilized world.
President Carter won a major victory today in his bid to boycott the Moscow Olympic Games because of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. In Colorado Springs, ABC's Tom Shell was on hand for the announcement of a decision on sending a U.S. team to Moscow.
The United States Olympic Committee has decided not to send a team to the 1980 Summer Games in Moscow.
The delegates to the U.S. Olympic Committee meeting approved the resolution by more than a 2-to-1 margin, 1604 to 797. The vote came after weeks of pressure from the Carter administration, including the final push, an appearance by Vice President Mondale this morning.
As we meet today, the lesson of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan still waits to be drawn.
This Dothan story is truly ugly because we have a police department that is being run by neo-Confederate racists, putting black people in jail for crimes that they did not commit. We know they did not commit them, and yet those people are still, to this day, rotting away in a jail cell.
History holds its breath, for what is at stake is no less than the future security of the civilized world.
I want folks to imagine for a moment, put aside any statistics of black-on-black crime, totally irrelevant. Because we're not talking about what happens with who criminals choose to kill or commit crime against. We are talking about the institution that is ostensibly designated and paid in society to protect all citizens. And when that institution is not only not protecting a certain segment of our citizenry, but in fact is a threat to a certain segment of our citizenry, one can only imagine, and one doesn't have to imagine, you can listen to what black people are saying about this. But as white people, we can only imagine what the implications are to knowing that not only can we not go to the police when we have to deal with a criminal or a problem that we're having, but that if we see police, we are necessarily threatened by them. I mean, it would be irrational for a black person at this point not to feel in the pit of their stomach some measure of threat when they see a police car light up their lights or a policeman walk down the street. I mean, we've just seen too many examples of this. And it would be an irrational response not to have some measure of concern or fear or awareness that you're not necessarily, you don't have the same protection as a white person has. I mean, and this is really, one can only imagine, like I say, the impact this has on a daily life on our segment of our population.